Hi everybody. Now for the second part of my video. I actually am home now, so Tony's already went inside, but I wanted to finish shooting what I was talking about in the last video here while I was thinking about it. Like I was saying, like I had, last month, like in the last couple of weeks or so, a bad experience at a Yelp Elite event. Well, it's just like I said, it's not that big a deal to me. I mean, it's like the place we were seemed disorganized. I mean, it did say they were under new management, and that was something I wanted to mention, but I didn't get a chance to mention in the last video. And that's part of the reason why I was like, well, I'm not going to have a hissy over, the fact that, oh, well, they just reopened under new management. But they did, like I said in the other video, the place seemed extremely disorganized. And it would have been great if they'd had their stuff together, to be completely honest with you. But it is what it is. I just, one thing, and I didn't mention this in the other video that I wanted to mention. So I started coming home that night. I came home during an electrical storm. I mean, it was thundering and lightning. I mean, I was like, I got in my car and started to leave from up there in Mount Adams, and it's like it lit up the whole sky. It was creepy. I'm like going, oh my God. As I was driving home, I was like, oh my God, is lightning out here? I kept thinking, oh Lord, just don't let me get hit by lightning. Don't let me get hit. Don't let this car get hit by lightning. Last thing I need is for this car to get hit by lightning. I mean, it is. But I got home obviously just fine. Nothing happened. But one thing, and it's like I haven't signed up to do any more Yelp events right now. It's not that I'm not going to. It's just, I'm just like, well, there's not anything that I'm really interested in. Like, they've got stuff like in Norwood. Norwood is like on the other side of Cincinnati. I don't want to drive that far. I'm not sorry. I'm not driving up that far. I mean, if it was a little closer in, like Mount Adams, for example, or better yet, out here in Florence, or, even here in Cold Spring, or like in Erlanger, or something like that, that'd be great. But no, most of the stuff's up there in Ohio. Not that I'm not hating on Ohio. I love Kentucky, but it's just, Ohio. I just don't like driving up in Ohio with Tony. Because sometimes, if he's with me, not to speak ill of my husband, but sometimes he just gets really salty about it. That's his problem. He gets salty about having to drive in Ohio. And I'm like, sweetie, put your big boy pants on and deal with it, okay? Sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. I can't pick every single location. Just is. But, one thing, and I wanted to emphasize this about Yelp, and I said this in the last video, you've got to take what you read on there with a grain of salt. I'm going to give another example of some place that got a negative review, and I'm like, this one is more like, really? Like, you went in there knowing it is what kind of place it was, and you whined about it. It's like, really? Over here in Highland Heights, there's a restaurant called Skyline Chili. Okay, if you are familiar with the Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, Ohio area, you know that Cincinnati is known for Cincinnati-style chili, like food. Skyline Chili is Cincinnati-style chili. It's one of the restaurants that serves Cincinnati-style chili. Well, just for frame of reference, Skyline Chili, I'd say probably, we'll say 90% of their food has meat in it, okay? And for those that are just vegetarians or, people that, are trying to not eat meat, I wouldn't recommend going in there. I mean, yeah, they might have like a Greek salad or whatever, but it's got feta cheese in it. So if you're, not eating anything, from, like an animal like milk or, you know, eggs or whatever, then I wouldn't go in there. Or tell them to hold the cheese, okay? But yeah, this was like a few years ago, and I read this and went, "Dear God, help all of us." I was like, rolled my eyes. What it is somebody, I'd say about 6-7 years ago, got on Yelp and whined about the Skyline Chili over there in Highland Heights. Like, it should have been more. It should have been like 80% meat or 80% meat, 80% vegetables and fruit. And it's most all meat and cheese and this and that. And I'm like, you went into a Cincinnati style chili parlor and whined that they didn't have a lot of vegetables. Why? That was my question. It's like, why did this person go in there knowing that most of the food is meat-based? That's one thing I just could not understand. Oh, what you keep seeing is my neighbor's porch light going on and off, in case you're wondering. But yeah, I mean, they were whining about, it's like they should have had more vegetables and fruits and, and less meat. In fact, there should have been no meat at all. And I'm like, I read that on Yelp and went, it's a good thing I don't know who this person is, because you know what? I'm going to I'm going to be like, you are stupid. Is it me or you stupid? I got on there on Yelp on the Skyline Chili's thing on Yelp, and I said, I gave them 5 stars where the person gave them like 1 or 2. And I gave Skyline Chili 5 stars and said, I don't understand why that other person was crying about the fact that that the restaurant didn't serve almost entirely all vegetables or what have you. I'm like, they should have realized when they went in there and took one look at the menu that they weren't going to get, that it wasn't all going to be 100%, plant-based. They should have gone, like, really? And they should have put their big person pants on and either A, left, or B, shut up about it. And just ate the salad, or whatever. Or eat the bean soup or what have you. And I'm like, why are you whining about this on Yelp? I'm like, I went on to talk about the fact that, I happen to like this Skyline restaurant. I happen to, have no problem eating meat. It's like, kill the fatted calf, children, and grind me up some hamburger. I'm like, I don't understand why they're being such crybabies about it. It's like, why did you go in there and eat? I'm like, I don't understand why they were whining about that. And what's ironic is the fact that I wasn't the only person that made that comment either. I noticed that there was another person there on Yelp that actually went and was saying the same thing. Like, good Lord, really? Like, you're crying about the fact that you had, like, limited plant-based options, and you're boo-hooing about that. And, you should have realized, like, that this was a chili parlor and that most of them don't serve a lot of plant-based stuff. I mean, it's like if you come to the area, and this is my point, if you come to the Northern Kentucky, Greater Cincinnati area, and you hit up one of them chili parlors, just be aware that if you're a vegetarian or somebody that doesn't eat a lot of meat, don't bother. Just don't go. If it's going to be that much of a deal for you, don't go to one of them. Because you'll probably get murdered. Maybe. I mean, or at least, not, I take that back, you wouldn't get murdered, but you'd probably get your butt handed to you by several people. They'd be like, really? Yeah, you'd get verbally murdered, but not, just saying. I don't want somebody to, have me arrested for saying you'll get murdered. You'd get told off probably. You would probably have stuff said to you about it. But anyway, it's just, that cracked me up. I'm like, this person is obviously not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm like, a little common sense here. This is what I'm talking about, like common sense stuff. Sorry, my thumb is itching. And it's my allergies just having it out with me right now. But yeah, I'm like, oh my good Lord. Some of these people, you have to wonder if their moms dropped them on their heads when they were babies. That on Yelp. It's like, I get on Yelp and some of the stuff I actually laugh about, but some of it I take really seriously. Like if there's like bad hotel reviews, like I get on and check Yelp for like if I'm going to say Tony and I are going to go to just, for example, hypothetically speaking, say Tony and I are going to go to, I don't know, we'll say Danville, Kentucky, just for like a few days to go do, a distillery tour or something. And like, I'll check around like there for like good hotels. Like anything, and what it is anything that's less than 4 stars, I won't go stay at, just because if it's like 2.5, excuse me, 2.5, 3 stars on Yelp, I take that to mean that, there's something seriously wrong. Anything 3 stars or less on a hotel on Yelp, I won't go stay at, just because that's more indicative of, there's something going on with them. But if I see like 4 or 5 stars, then yeah, I'll, book them. It's just because, like I mentioned in the other video, the actual places can't buy these reviews. That's part of the reason why I like Yelp, is because you're going to get a more honest review out of the folks on there than you will, like, TripAdvisor or something. Not to badmouth TripAdvisor, I'm just saying, for example. Because it's like the companies can't pay for those reviews. Like I said, and it's like one of those things where it's like I mentioned in the last video, there's people whining about the fact that, like if you get on there and put your credit card on there, they won't ever let you, get off of there or whatever. I'm like, well, sweetie, then don't pay for the advertising or pushing or whatever. It's like, if, then don't claim your thing, because there's several, like I've actually added a few businesses on there and like put their web pages in and what have you, and none of them have ever claimed them for whatever reason. It's just because, I suspect that they've got like several negative reviews and they'll have to address them if they do. And I'm like, really? But, it's like sometimes, like I actually, what was it? December 2 years ago, I added a place south of here in, I think, Williamstown. I don't think they ever claimed the thing that I put in. And that's one other thing I like about Yelp, is you can add businesses if you want. And like, I ended up saving it because I was like, well, I'm going to put in review of it later. I was like, I'll come back to it. That's part of the reason why I saved it, was because I was like, well, I'm going to go in and add, a review of it later because I have something I want to say about it. But I was just like, right now, I was just so tired and angry and frustrated. I was just like, I'm not going to do it now because I'm liable to say something mean on there about them. And, it had nothing to do with them. It was more like something else and somebody else. Like, there's a gas station out there in Florence by the airport that I gotta say, and this is the first time I've ever had it, they actually sell boiled peanuts. And I added this, like, I put in, like, what I could make out of, like, the name of the gas station. And I tell you what, and this is a nice thing about Yelp, is, like, I put in their name, their address, what I could figure out was a phone number or whatever. And, like, I saved it because I was like, well, I want to go back in and maybe do a review of it later or something, or take pictures. Like, I put it in, and it's like I entered it in the system. Like, I checked it, like, a day or two later because I was going to put in a comment. They had updated everything. I mean, that's, like, the nice thing about it. And it's like, I'm like, well, if I decide to go there and, like, say, get me, like, some more boiled peanuts, which were, they tasted like soup beans is what they tasted like. I mean, they were good. I happen to like soup beans, so I was like, hey, tastes like soup beans. But, it's, I do really recommend, going on Yelp, and that's part of the reason, and I know I've said this in another video prior to now, that's part of the reason why I've stopped doing restaurant reviews on here. I will, and I said this, I know, in another video elsewhere, that, yeah, I will do a restaurant review on here if I feel that, Yelp isn't going to cut it, because I'm like, well, I need to talk about this, this, is going on, that, I feel like something needs to get said on YouTube about it, Well, anyway, I'm getting tired, and I'd like to get in my house. Well, anyway, y'all have a good evening, and I will talk to you later. Bye.